But wow, we have a lot of people in here, like 13 people. Oh my gosh. Fun. All right, so I'm recording now, and I'm just looking around. I love the color of this sign. Cha, if you don't mind, can you try to send invitations to speak and see if maybe there's something on my end?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is what we're doing. We're looking at recent ancient open source analog encrypted garden memory, which is the title of the exhibition. And participating artists are Nimrod Astarhan, Benech, Eileen Chang, Nicole Kouts, Recia, Randall Saenz, and Rogelio Zarate. Very nice. So we're just going to check them out in here. Let's see, I'll wait until somebody jumps up before. Oh man, there's a pine cone. This is great because like things are actually appearing. It's almost like a performance is being done in the dome.
Okay, yeah, well, my portal is an untiled folder, and that's also the name of my room and my piece. Because sometimes when you are working and you're like trying to organize your space, sometimes you create folders that you have no idea what do they contain. You know, it's like something you do sometimes, and those folders are still there. I have a lot of folders with untiled names.
There we go. So I'll
Okay,
jump in.
let's go.
Okay, somebody is the giant pine cone. Now I'm realizing.
Oh, that's also someone else?
That is somebody. It has to be. It's someone's avatar. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You think it's Eileen?
Maybe. I don't see it like in the chat, you know, like you can see like
yeah, I
everyone's
don't either.
icon. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe we're getting pinecone bombed. That's so bizarre. Anyway, okay, so let's try to just work with the pinecone.
Okay.
And and yeah, so tell us about the space. It looks, oh my God, it looks beautiful. Wow.
Okay, so welcome to my memory shared with my computer memory. If you see over here, I have like a little diagram to explain where we are in the space, in the metaverse space. We're in between my memory and the metaverse. We are here in this middle space. Okay, so thinking about memories and how to put that in this space, because you know, like I'm working only with memory cache, things that I have like saved there in my computer and I never use it, so I wanted to use it. That here it's like my prime material. So the pieces that are grounded, I divided this exhibition as core memory and light memories, you know. So these core memories are these like big objects grounded in the floor. You know, there are like memories that are like essential for me and maybe essential for my work, and that's why I save it on my computer. You can go through all these rocks. You can explore the screenshots from the inside also, if you want to walk through.
You can?
Yeah, you
I
can.
can't.
Oh, you can't?
No, I think you have to enable flying.
Oh, sorry. Let me like.
That's okay. Oh, actually, the screenshots are moving.
Yeah, the screenshots are always facing at you. So.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a clever way of using that. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly post exactly where we are for people on Twitter.
Okay, I think now flight is enabled.
Yeah.
So if anyone press G, you can fly and see the exhibition from the sky, and you can also like explore these core memories from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the things
If
that
anyone's
listening,
if anyone's listening, I just posted exactly where we are. So please jump in. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you don't worry. Yeah, so the core memories are these rocks, are these big objects grounded. And the light memories, the things that we somehow we say, but we don't know why anymore, that memories are just floating in the space. So that's how I arrange my space. It's like a vertical display.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you go closer to these like memories that are just floating, they're blurry because sometimes it's not something you remember like exactly how it was. It's something that is just floating around there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so everybody, if you want to fly, press G, the letter G as in go, once, and then you can fly. And just look up and fly. So let's see if everybody in the group does it. I'm going to tell it in the chat too. Press G to fly. Yeah.
To fly and to go inside these core memories. And also, I don't know if anyone is like Spanish speaker, so I can also talk in Spanish.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So now I'm switching to Spanish. Ok, bueno, para los que no hablan inglés, voy a también dar mi explicación en español. Esta pieza se llama Untitled Folder, que es el folder que automáticamente se te crea cuando tú estás guardando archivos. Esto porque pues es una experiencia muy universal, que todos tengamos un untitled folder por ahí en nuestra computadora, que a veces sí tiene cosas que recordamos y a veces tiene cosas que ni idea qué son. Entonces mi pieza se llama Untitled Folder, Recuerditos del Espacio Digital. Y pues aquí esta pieza trabaja el caché como materia prima, o sea, viendo el caché no solo como un archivo digital, sino como memorias que están ocupando espacio tanto en mi computadora como en mi mente, planteando un poco la pregunta de hasta dónde mi computadora es una extensión de mí y hasta dónde empiezan los recuerdos de mi computadora. Y pues la distribución de este espacio es vertical. Como que estas core memories, estos recuerdos que son más fuertes y que son más pesados, tanto de manera personal como en tamaños de archivo, son los que están en el piso. En el piso es donde tenemos más peso y por eso están estas rocas, por eso tengo bloques gigantes. Y las memorias que son un poco más pasajeras, que no son tan core memories, están flotando. O sea, esas cosas que tienes por ahí guardadas, que de repente recuerdas que viste, pero como que no es algo muy claro, o cosas que te encontraste en tu computadora y jamás recordabas haberlas guardado, esas memorias son más ligeras y también el peso de estos archivos es más ligero y por eso están flotando por el espacio. And that's it. That was the Spanish translation of
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I can't see your room right now. Yeah. But I was just going to ask how you feel after getting the show together and working with all the rest of the cohorts in order to organize that. Seems like you did. Now I can see your room. It just loaded up.
Okay. Sorry, you were saying?
Well, I was just wondering about this experience of co-curating this show. It seems like you guys, from kind of just listening to the Discord, it seemed like you really worked well together. I was wondering how you felt about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them, over the critiques, I think a lot of them helped me to how to land this space, because I wasn't sure how to arrange my space, because I don't want it to feel like I have like things just all over the place. Like I wanted to feel like a narrative and something like that. And that's why the critiques and the others one helped me. That's where they helped me. They helped me like to the others one's perspective of my space. That's what helped me to ground it, the exhibition. Yeah. I mean, because I think we all have like kind of similar perceptions about the metaverse and about digital and our artist practice. So it was really helpful to see what everyone else think about what we were working on,
I have, oh, sorry, Nemo, did you have a question?
I wasn't saying anything, but
Oh,
yeah, I think that the yeah, just like seeing another desktop inside of the desktop, and some of them are turning and some of them are not, and they are really turning into this kind of an architecture, like the 3D desktop landscape that starts kind of moving out and like becomes sculptural and kind of visceral. I just we had a a visit with I just met with the programmer behind the P5 JS editor, and a student asked us a question like, how do you make the background transparent, and how and we started kind of thinking, and I think this is something that is shared among many people who like work in the web or work in digital interfaces. We have this notion of the layers, right? Like we have this notion that there is a depth to the digital image, even though it is flat. And we can kind of see it or feel it. But I think that many, like usually, it's not a very common thinking pattern among people who are kind of like not, digitally native and like digital creators. So I think that, yeah, like this, and for me, I don't know, like to me, like this is really the centerpiece, this kind of sculptural desktop, and I think that it really carries this layered notion, and the fact that it like appears again as this JPEG that is kind of turning to face you emphasize that further. So yeah, I think it's all like very much in line with this idea of um, this liminal space between the metaverse and memory. Um, yeah, so yeah, I appreciate the sculptural qualities of this work and the way that they speak to the concept. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's exactly the idea too. This is like the liminal space. We're now in the liminal space between the memory and the metaverse. And that's why also the floor is like kind of moving, like, and the sky is also animated, because we're like in a space that is not something I don't know how to say it. Yeah, it's like an in-between space.
so Anna, I just want to say your space is gorgeous. I cannot wait to come
Thank
back
you.
to it. I mean, I'm just so amazed by this. There's so many details. I love it. I just saw the scan of somebody's face on a scanner bed. Yeah, the details are amazing. So like big clappy. Oh, I think I can actually clap hands here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wonderful. All right, Rogelio, how do we get to yours? We have to go back through the...
Oh, I have a portal to go back to the salon.
Yeah.
So if you click again in the untitled folder, we all go back to the main salon.
All right. So then, Rogelio, you are a giant snake avatar.
Yes, I am because snake avatar, and the link to my space is the skeleton with the snake.
Ah,
It's
okay.
sacrifice. Yes,
All right. So if anyone's following along, we're going to this. It's behind the pine cone, the skeleton with the snake, and I'll post it here as well. So I'm posting it as well so that, okay.
Yes.
Later.
Give me a second. I just mute the sound. This is my work, and it's kind of representation of a mythical story of the town of my parents, and I just try to follow the story that my parents always said, but I do a little bit different, some more cyberpunk, and it's an interpretation of the story because I guess I think the story is no don't have a only way to understand, and I use the metaverse to give some kind of body of the oral tradition. So you can fly if you press G, and you can view for above the scenario. Why is the
So you did allow flying, because I know that at first you didn't allow flying. So what changed your mind?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Why? I think it is. You can fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can fly. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of extra stuff. There's not extra. There's a lot of details that you have added. If you want to speak in Spanish, that's fine. And maybe we can have somebody, or you can do a rough translation in English afterwards.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
En español es muy easy to me. Sí, es una historia vieja que a mí me gusta porque nunca es igual. Entonces siempre es una historia que se está interpretando todo el tiempo y yo trato como de ocupar los elementos más representativos. Se llama Sacrificio porque a grandes rasgos habla como la unión entre la tradición católica, por así decirlo, y la tradición como religiosa del pueblo, pero para hacer como la combinación de las tradiciones realiza un sacrificio el pueblo. Entonces, aquí hay como diferentes elementos que representan cada parte de la historia, ¿no? Por un lado tengo la iglesia que the church for me is a kind of starship. Sí, para mí la iglesia es como una nave espacial y que llega como a este territorio que de hecho el pueblo está como una montaña muy alta, pero tiene un pequeño espacio que es donde estaba, se supone que está una laguna, ¿no? En la historia hay una laguna ahí y ahí vive una serpiente gigante que tiene cuernos. Entonces, la historia es como sencilla, pero tiene como mucho detalle. Se supone que aparece como una figura de San Pedro Apóstol, que es como de los principales apóstoles de Jesús. Y es como algo chistoso porque el pueblo se llama San Pedro Quiatoni. Quiatoni es una palabra en zapoteco que significa piedra, entonces como que hay esta relación entre la deidad española y la deidad como zapoteca, porque San Pedro es piedra, como que la palabra Pedro viene de piedra y Quiatoni también es piedra, entonces digamos que es un pueblo piedra, ¿no? In English, the meaning of the name of the town is Stone. Stone is the name of the pueblo, the town. Y en este caso uso dos piedras para ejemplificar eso. O sea, una piedra es como San Pedro y la otra son las piedras que ya estaban ahí, ¿no? Como esta llegada, digamos. Y, ¿qué otra cosa? la laguna es la parte importante porque es como el espacio donde se construye una nueva iglesia y esta cuando se realiza el sacrificio se seca y es donde se construye como, se renueva el pueblo, digamos. Yes. No sé si tiene alguna duda. Do you have any question until this?
Yes, people, ask away.
Yo sí tengo, bueno, yo también tengo pregunta. Pero...
Sí, dale, y vamos viendo, porque igual es como larga la historia y me puedo perder si quieres, y después se traduce, yo creo.
Ok, sí, si quieres te ayudo a ver cómo lo traducimos.
Ah, ok, pero si quieres...
Pero ajá, o sea, yo te quería preguntar, porque me acuerdo que lo hablamos con Dorín, de que a veces estos espacios pues no están pensados como para, o sea, es como una, ¿cómo decirlo? Ajá, que lo, como que lo que es reliquia, no sé cómo decirlo, que a veces no está pensado como para, pues sí, claro, no estuvo jamás pensado para vivir en estos espacios. O sea, como que la antigüedad, a veces la antigüedad es difícil como recrearla o hacerla vivir en este espacio.
Claro.
Entonces, o sea, yo quería preguntarte justo, o sea, ¿tú cómo ves eso? O sea, ¿crees que en este espacio pueden vivir estas historias? O sea, en este espacio...
Yo creo que
puede vivir como esta tradición, ¿sabes? O sea...
Ajá, es que es tradición oral, pero yo siento que hay como un error al pensar como las tradiciones prehispánicas o indígenas, cuando se cree que solo viven en el pasado y no que tienen un presente, y que todo el tiempo se han estado como actualizando. De hecho, esta historia habla de la actualización de sus tradiciones, o sea, como que hay,
claro.
ajá, de hecho, hay un libro de Enrique Dussel que me gusta mucho porque él, digamos que establece el principio de la modernidad como con la llegada de los españoles y como que ese movimiento conceptual reconfigura la historia. Entonces, digamos que siempre hay actualización de los pueblos, no viven en el pasado, por así decirlo. Entonces, como que sí hay un pasado mítico, pero creo que siempre se va adaptando. Y para mí esta opción como de metaverso creo que pues es una opción para adaptarlo, ¿no? Para darle vida y para que siga existiendo, ¿no? Que normalmente existe como el lenguaje, ¿no? Como en este lenguaje hablado, pero que creo que también eso es interesante que platicamos con Dorin como los lenguajes en diferentes niveles, que esto es como una forma de lenguaje pues computacional, ¿no? Que se puede traducir a imagen, pero que sigue siendo lenguaje.
Sí, o sea, nada más como la actualización de cómo es el lenguaje ahora.
Sí, claro, sí, es mi idea.
I have a question, actually, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So you're giving, it's interesting because you're doing this based on an oral tradition, like an oral storytelling, something that's always been passed down and for years was not written down, right? So it was never written, but it was just passed on. I was wondering, how does it feel to translate? Like mostly I think people they either write it down or they make it on, a painting or something. But to make it in 3-dimensional space that you can actually like walk around and explore, how did that feel? Like maybe a new way to visualize a story.
Yes, for me was very interesting and I very, very like it because I feel the space of the space in the memory some about the work of Anna. It have a 3D form for me. The memory have a 3D form, and to have the possibility to transfer to oral tradition to 3D form in place in the network is very, very interesting, and I love it.
Oh, I do have a question, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
¿Está en zapoteco el audio o en qué?
Yes. El audio, de hecho, está en zapoteco.
Ok, ya. Esa era mi única duda, si era zapoteco.
Sí, lo que pasa es que hay varias versiones de zapoteco, que es algo que la gente no sabe, así como a distancia. Entonces, el zapoteco que más se conoce es el del Istmo de Tehuantepec, pero hay como toda una región de zapotecos, o sea, son varios, y esa es una variante que es específicamente ese pueblo. También eso es como un detalle importante. Por
Ok.
eso, ajá.
Sí, no, me gusta mucho que sí tenga el audio.
Sí. O sea, lo saqué ahí. De hecho, quiero hacer como más audios, pero este fue como el que tenía de primera instancia.
¿Y quién está narrando la historia?
Ah, mi papá.
Ok. Está muy chido. O sea, me gusta mucho eso porque, o sea, justo es como el registro de, o sea, ya está viviendo ahí en ese espacio ahora como la versión de tu papá que habías dicho que depende de la persona, te cuentan versiones diferentes, o que a veces
Sí,
la misma persona te cuenta una versión diferente.
ajá, es que no es como que sea un tópico o un tema de diario, sino como que de pronto pasa mucho tiempo y se acuerdan y te lo empiezan a contar de la nada. Dices, pero ¿por qué? O sea, pero no, aparte de eso, son muy religiosos, son muy católicos, entonces como que entra en conflicto como con su pasado, pero está interesante. Es una cosa rara ahí.
Ok.
Sí, sí.
Sí,
Una
pues,
buena.
me encantó. Me encantó.
Gracias.
No, I think this is fantastic. I was just having a look at Rogelio's room, and I think, it's also, I think, part of what you said, Ariel, in terms of like the ways in which this unfolded that doesn't necessarily require to be like, full of like a lot of elements in order for it to properly communicate the idea. I think this is a brilliant way of sorting it out, and also considering the like the symbolism of each element. I think it allows you to consider more carefully why these elements are present instead of having, like I don't know, like an overflow of elements that do not really allow you to consider them in connection with one another. And I think that's definitely something that doesn't happen in here. I think this is a really, really great way of bringing alive a story that I think this is part of what they were talking a little bit earlier today in terms of how a lot of these stories, they are, I don't know, I guess embedded within a specific time frame, but that doesn't mean that they have, I don't know, in a way disappeared or that are not relevant. I mean, I would even argue that it's the other way around. They're very much relevant, and I think it is very important to have these kind of spaces in order for them to build like a different path of their existence, or bringing them to existence in a different way, in a different place, through other materials, because it's still very much relevant, I think.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, thank you so much. I loved all of that. We actually are going to move over to Laos, to Laura. So Laura, please unmute and thank you so much, Rogelio. I'm going to play the.
Thank you.
Okay, I need to have that actually in loop, but we have to work on that. So, Laura, how do we find yours? We have to go through the lobby, right? The salon, right?
Yeah, there is an object that said the salon.
Okay.
I love that there's no floor. I mean, like, that completely changed my perspective of the space, because I'm not sure if I'm walking or if I'm flying.
Yes.
I would love to know more about the elements that are around. Like, I'm just hopping from bubble to bubble, trying to like get a sense of like, I don't know, I find very interesting, like, these are very special characters, I would say.
Hello. Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Laura.
I can't believe it. I'm sorry.
Yay.
Oh no. Well.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. It's Twitter's fault.
Yeah. I don't know Twitter. I'm never here, so I really don't know how to use it. So, well, this is I heard that you said that there was no ground because there are bubbles floating into space. These are gardens that in bubbles. Is an idea of a series that I am working in various like a video, holograms, augmented reality, and this was a nice opportunity to me to experiment with this kind of spaces, because the idea is to work with gardens like artificial in like artificial bubbles of technoscience, to think about nature, post-nature, digital ecologies. And I work with scanned plants that in these bubbles are like...
And flies.
Yeah.
I found a fly.
Yes, of course. I love to fly in the metaverse.
No, I found an actual scanned fly.
Like
the bug.
No. Well, in this work, this was very interesting to me to experiment in this place, because I used to work with bigger objects in Blender, so it was very hard to make them not so heavy like for the metaverse. So I use some objects from the Sketchfab. Yeah. But
I just went into a green bubble. So if anyone's in here, can you tell us about this green bubble that has like some sort of gold orb inside of it?
Yes, that's a bubble with an experiment of a video of a plant that I 3D printed. And this is the video of that material. Like, I like to work with different materials also. So this bubble contains the video of this plant that is 3D printed. But of course,
this is amazing.
When you are inside, it's like abstract. But it's like the same that plant that is called camalote, that I scanned it and then I 3D printed and I took a video, and that's the video in that bubble.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that's just for anybody who's in this space. That's the green, completely opaque bubble. So you can't see through it. And there's like a little video inside of it. Does anyone have any questions? Doreen, Anna, Rogelio, Cha? This is a beautiful space.
I just wanted to know perhaps a little bit more about the AR models that you have over here as well.
Yes. What you want to know?
Well, how they incorporate on the space, because I think it is really interesting that somehow you are like taking this outside of this screen into another screen. I don't know, like there's like a transaction there that I find very interesting, and I don't know,
yes.
Maybe what were you thinking about when you were like, making this decision? I think it's very cool.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because this work is about deterritorialization. That's hard in English. So I think that having bubbles in different places, deterritorialized, it's part of the the concept. So the AR bubbles are, I don't know if you could see a QR. That's the way you can.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it was interesting because I had to point my cell phone into the computer to, to create this interaction. I don't know, I
Yes.
just thought that was an interesting thing.
Like an inception, like the screen and the screen and the meta screen and the metaverse and the meta screen. Yes,
Yes,
I like
exactly.
the question. And also, I always like to work with the nature and artificial, like post nature also. So the sound, I look for this sound that is from the Free Sound archive, and it was recorded in the Amazonas. So it's like very, very natural sound with these artificial bubbles. And I like that contrast.
I think that's really, really interesting. It's a very rich space, like in terms of the navigation as well. Like I just keep encountering more details, but it doesn't feel, I don't know how to say it, like it doesn't feel like it's overloaded with elements. It just, it's something that you have to take your time to discover, which I think is also a nice thing to have, especially when you are working with an online space, like everything sometimes feels that is instantaneously present, but here you actually have to take the time to even get from element to element.
And what about the carnivorous plants? Like, did you talk about those yet? Because there's a lot of carnivorous plants.
Oh, the carnivorous plants, those are also from Sketchfab, but that's because I work with them. In another installations, I use videos of carnivorous plants because, well, those are plants that we have in our garden, like little ones, of course, but I like to work with plants that I know that I have near around. Anyway, what was very interesting to me in this experience is that working for the metaverse, also working for AR, but here I also had to work the plants, and in many cases they become abstract. And that is also something very interesting of this kind of using the same plant, the same object, the same 3D object, like in many different places or digital places, like a video or a metaverse. So I think that's a question that I will keep thinking about, because to become abstract, it's like the plant is no more, is not anymore. So it's something interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Laura. Please hang out and
Thank you.
Don't go away.
Thank you all.
Amazing work. Oh wait, I really got to get that sound in loop somehow. All right, Nemo, how do we? Oh, I think I see the exit. All right, so we're all going to go up now to Nemo's. All right, so we're going to jump in here, and I'm going to post the link in Twitter in 2 seconds. And yeah, so Nemo, take it away.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. This is a space for this speculative archaeology project It's kind of like a spatial poem is what I started with, turning something that I worked on as existing in like a linear sort of writing form, and converting it into the space, bringing it into the space. Yeah, so you are welcome to explore it, and among or around the spatial poem are also objects that refer to the same kind of Atlantis, lost kingdom, lost culture that is being discussed or talked about in the writing. Yeah, so you can kind of walk through the poem. It's kind of a long-term research project that looks at this area in southern Russia, where once multi-confessional kingdom existed about 1,000 years ago. And I call it speculative archaeology because so there is an active dig there and it's being excavated. This kingdom had a kind of a pivotal role both in the relationships between Europe and the Western Asia, as well as the Eastern diaspora of the Jewish diaspora of Eastern Europe. So there are some claims that a lot of the Jewish people of Eastern Europe actually are converted Khazars, or people who came from Khazars, from Khazaria, and converted. And I was really inspired by thinking about this ancient world where kind of many religions are practiced together, are sort of being co-lived in a way that I think maybe is, utopian a bit in its past projection. But also I thought there was something like really inspiring in thinking that, there were these areas where, I don't know, monotheism was being negotiated and maybe religion was kind of still a very new story. So I kind of conflate that history of that place with my own personal family history and some of my own thoughts on kind of art and abstraction. So in this text are quotes from artists, pieces of writing about the Khazars, and pieces from my own personal history. And the way that the excavation works is that it's in southern Russia, so I can't go there. But they have a social media account, which is so I'm reading a little bit out of the texts that are here. So they have a social media account. They have an Instagram account where they are uploading findings kind of in real time. And I was thinking a lot about what it means to see an object that has been excavated on social media. You immediately jump to conclusions. You think, oh, this is so ancient and this was used for this and that, but that's actually like such a projection. Like you don't really know. It hasn't been dated. It hasn't been contextualized. It hasn't been researched. So I was thinking a lot about this kind of like quasi sort of quantum archaeology, like this thing that is sort of coming back, but is of a different time, but is this talisman that kind of contains like a multiplicity of time periods at once. And what I decided to do is to model these objects. So I see a picture of them on social media, and then I create a model of them, and then I added them here. So what you see here are completely kind of like out of scale, out of context objects that I modeled after these archaeological findings from southern Russia, from this kingdom, this area that I'm researching. Yeah.
Do they know that you're doing this, the archaeological dig?
Yeah, so I was thinking a lot about whether or not I should be in conversation with them. I was actually considering it, and I kind of decided against because I think, yeah. So they don't know. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's a really different like perspective. I think that they are really interested in this in a kind of like an historical and archaeological perspective, and I think that I'm really recontextualizing it, and sometimes like I thought that I need some critical distance from that team and to also look at it as it's kind of interesting. So I should say the place where this dig is happening is in a city called Asahan in southern Russia, so the same as my last name, but I was never there, and I don't know that we have like a direct relationship with them. Yeah, so it's a lot about speculation, and I appreciated the option here to make the ground kind of these like sand dunes that move really slowly.
Yeah, that looks amazing. I mean, the fact that it looks like a desert, like a real desert, like the atmosphere is very desert-like, which is it's really beautiful.
Thank you. So I thought, and it kind of makes parts of the text and also parts of the objects disappear sometime. So it's sort of kind of coming in and out because there is a lot of debate and a lot of like this is a very contested history just because it's related to all these origin stories of Israel and the Jews and whether they came from here or from there. So there's kind of like a lot of maybe a lot of political debate around this story and how true it is, how much it's related. But yeah, I was.
So maybe that's why you don't want to tell them, or you think that they would want you to stop?
No,
No,
I don't think. I think they kind of like, I'm not sure they will like care so much. And I think that I'm really sort of appropriating it in the same way that I do with these texts and making them mine. So I really make this a part of my story, but it has more of a speculative, critical, political dimension than it actually has like an historical, archaeological one. Just one more thing that I wanted to say is that the Khazars, before they converted to monotheistic religions, they were Tenegrists, which is an ancient religion, shamanic sort of belief system that puts at its center the eternal blue sky. So they believe in this titular sky god, Tenegri. So that's kind of the two elements that are here are these like scrap findings, secondhand Instagram objects, and the blue sky is like half of the composition here at all times. So it's like what's important for me to include that as well.
Yeah,
I think it's very, very interesting because, in a way, it's how we navigate certain areas or fields of research through online spaces, So I think that it is really fascinating that you're getting all of this information from, let's say, a space that is meant to share the findings, but then at the same time that doesn't really control the outcomes of what this means for the people who are watching. So it kind of like draws back even to like philosophical conversations about representation, base reality, if you will, and I don't know, I guess like a somewhat epistemic overhang of like not being able to actually contrast what your findings are and your deductions are in terms of like the actual history, which I think is a very powerful, a very powerful consideration, especially now where I don't know, like I kept on, exploring the space and the fact that there's a lot of text as well. I find it very, very interesting, especially at a moment in time where we're working, or more and more people are working with generative AI models, right? That are, in a way, fed through text, even if the outcome is not directly text. And I think that in a way is a really interesting analogy of how we are building those other realities or other narratives to history. And of course, the impossibility of actually accessing objectivity when you're finding these objects, through social media, or through, in a way, like a condensed version of what the research actually leads to. And I think it's a very beautiful way of, like, I don't know, like exploring what this could mean for the other or others that are on the other side of the screen. I know it just made me think a lot about that, and I think it is very, very powerful. And I really, really like the fact that you have like this combination of I don't know, almost as a garden of or a desert, of course, rather, of these short stories that in a way prompt imagination, which is something that I don't know, like I've been thinking a lot about, how literature and text in particular are like the written forms that prompt imagination in real time, right? And I think that, the conversation about having this immersive space that has a lot of these prompts to imagination, but then also we have these moving elements and these out of scale objects that guide, in a way, the navigation that we have inside is I don't know, I think it is very fascinating.
Thank you. You couldn't see, but I was nodding very very affirmatively. It's a beautiful read and spot on. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great, and I really appreciate the connection that you're making between. Yeah, so I would say you read into a lot of what I was thinking about, especially. Yeah, maybe I will just share an anecdote that I had like a studio visit with an archaeologist, and I told them that I'm calling this like speculative archaeology, and then they said, well, it's redundant because all archaeology is speculative. So yeah, so you were spot on in like thinking about
Yes, of course.
yeah.
And then again, like I think a lot about, I've been reading a lot about objectivity and the ways in which we have regarded objectivity throughout time, particularly within scientific research. But actually, what we have been encountering as, or regarding as objective, is actually a mode of translation rather than the full translation. So yeah, in a way, yeah, I think it is really interesting that you had like an action archaeologist saying like, well, actually all of it is like speculative. I think it's really powerful, of course.
Yeah.
Hmm. Does anyone else have anything they would like to ask?
Yes. Hey, Nemo. I was wondering about your decision to, I think this piece is kind of initially a video, and now you're in a three-dimensional space and it's no longer a video. I'm wondering why you decided not to use a video, or yeah, I guess basically that's it.
Yeah, so I think that we're kind of like sharing our work in different ways, and I had a video documentation, but I think that in interactive spaces, the narrative line or the narrative arc really lies in the interaction, like the time dimension is being added, or the way that I see that we are constructing the narrative through the interaction, through the possibilities of interaction rather than through time. And that interaction also, of course, becomes time-based, right? Like I walk through it and it takes me time to reach the 20-second text. Even if I go very quickly, I cannot immediately be there. I need to pass through a certain piece of land. Yeah, so especially in the 3D world, I was thinking about, narrative as something that is spatialized, that you can kind of, I was thinking mediomatically that the way to portray the narrative that I'm trying to use is yeah, it would work better with the medium as a spatial configuration than as a time-based configuration inherently. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Narrative is spatialized. That's a wonderful notion. I mean, it's like a little tiny short story. And like, I just love the writings. And then these objects are so big and sort of monumental. But then when you tell me that they're, things you've just kind of made up from the Instagram account, it makes me feel like, okay, so these little cherished things that we find, like a ring that's very old and stuff, how outsized of in importance they are. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Totally. I mean, that's a beautiful read. Like I didn't have that exact notion in my mind, but that's a beautiful read, and it's spot on because um, these objects, like archaeology, is kind of an object that we use to fill a blank space in text, right? Like we have a written history or like written accords spanning, including this period. So there are many historical records of it, but we kind of we kind of use the objects as something to close the space, a blank space that we have in the text, and they're totally like blown out of proportion. And and it's such a projection. Also, like I can't stop thinking. Whenever I see one of these objects, that I think like, oh, that must be like, I don't know, a hammer for whatever, like, or it's a pipe, or it's a whistle, or and it's just so tainted with this utilizing functional perspective that's like so much related to our operational kind of reality. And I notice myself like, oh, I'm out of touch, like this might be like an object of worship. It might represent like all these like things that I have no idea about, and what the meaning of this object could be, like how it could be so magical, central, majestic, could symbolize like a heritage, a future, a fortune, like and so it's both that we are kind of giving they become huge in our contemporary moment. Like we inflate them in our time with our perspective. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with what we want them
yeah.
to be, they become kind of magic objects, because they can prove a point, or they can, disprove something, perhaps,
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
depending on who's looking at them. Yeah, amazing work. Oh, I love it. I love this one text right here that says, "An early critical net art, a hypertextual, historic religious speculation, an early form of Wikipedia with algorithmically generated content." What is that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a great question, and of course the context here gets is very multidimensional. So that is a small piece of text that I wrote that relates to a book called the Book of the Khazars, which surprisingly is not historical. It's just a novel. It's written by a Serbian writer called Milorad Pavic. And it's just like a great piece of literary work. It kind of happens in Khazar world, but it's not really like it's more like a novel. And it's a very, very early example. It's, I think, from the end of the 70s. It's a very, very early example of these like choose your own adventure type of books. It's very multidimensional. Like the book itself has pieces of writing that are also taken out of different sources, some historical, some religious, and it has this system of marking or tokenizing each piece of text. It's actually built like a dictionary, and every piece of text has an indication of what religious history it belongs to. And it's all in kind of this like also just like a narrative story of like it's a novel. So it's like a really, really interesting example of, a hyperlinked content. Like you can read through this book in many ways. You can kind of read only the definitions that pertain to a specific category or a specific history, or you can kind of read it linearly, but then you will have values that are coming from different places. So it's kind of like trying to read a dictionary in a linear fashion. So it's just a really interesting book that I think predates a lot of even like beyond the choose your own adventure novel, these ways of navigating knowledge and navigating the internet and I don't know, like tagging or these concepts. So I thought maybe I can think about this as like some piece of net art. This book from the from before the net was a net. Yeah.
Okay, well, but Nemo, this is beautiful. I'm so glad it's going to be up for a month because I am just in awe. And I love the fact that when you're looking around here, you can also see, of course, Rogelio's dragon or snake, his serpent. And then you see, I'm going to say it's Eileen. I don't know, her pine cone. Does anyone have any information about the pine cone? I mean, this has been a running.
I love the mystery pine cone. Maybe it's a performance that we don't know of yet.
It is. I feel like it's an artist, but like I feel like the other artists know. They're just not telling me. I don't know.
No, so honestly, yesterday Eileen came to when we were setting it. Maybe I can share just because we're like it doesn't seem that they are here. So we were just kind of in the salon and sort of deciding on how to design the space and we want to put more text and like all the things that you see that we did there. So we kind of, we were all there and we were kind of considering and discussing and we wanted to like test the placement of everyone's portals because we realized all of us are kind of doing our own world that is linked to from the salon and we're not really doing like an installation inside the salon itself besides these portals. So we asked Eileen for like a temporary object that would represent their to-be portal, and they added a small pine cone. So that's the that's the little breadcrumb trail that leads us to.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. There was something about that pine cone that said that is Eileen Chang. Awesome. That's so amazing. Okay, so I'm going to give you, because I've done it with everybody, a big hand clap.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your time.
Yeah, this is amazing. Amazing. Actually, can we go and check out?
Thank you.
Can we check out the computer part?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we? Yeah, why don't we go to Nicole's space?
Yeah. So we're gonna run over to Nicole's, and then even though she's not here, just to check.
Yeah, Nicole just wrote to me on Instagram, so we can say hi, Nicole, because she's in a trip right now. She's away from computer, but he was trying to know about everything.
Yeah, she also told me the same to me.
All right, so Nicole's looks like a old computer, old being, well, relative, but old in internet years computer.
Basically, the subject matter comes from an old book, maybe from the 90s, about how to build a website, I believe. And it's a book in Portuguese, and so the images that comprise the exhibition are scanned from this book, and it's interesting to see how the three-dimensionality that occurs with some of these images, and also the texture. And I think there was some mention of Nicole doing a reading of the book at some point, which I think would be fantastic. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, they've got time because this will be up until the 3rd.
Her work is a lot about analog and digital. So the book is like an analog object.
It's like makes me almost think of Nemo's, because I think, like, what if the objects that we find actually are referencing older objects and they're made with nostalgia?
Yeah.
Like the objects we find on an archaeological dig, you know?
Yeah, and also this is an archaeological park of computation of computers.
Exactly. This is like
Yeah, and I think that's something that new media art really it's I don't know if it's like a problem. I don't like to making things like the word problem, but one of the perspectives that is, I think, commonly missed when considering new media is this difference between nostalgia and history. Like serious art has history, and old computers or old screensavers, it's just nostalgia, which is regarded as, like kind of like less serious, maybe like overly emotional, like this kind of like a specific emotional relationship with specific history. But yeah, I think that at this point, and especially considering the place that the digital has in our contemporary society, is, I think, definitely really interesting to think about this as like some type of a cultural history or visual cultural history that, for sure is also nostalgic in ways, because we all remember our Windows 95 computer or whatever, but it's also has a lot of meaning, like these means of interaction. They are meaningful, and they are meaningful to this day, to the ways in which we interact with our computers. So, for example, I'm thinking about all the like little computer games that were a part of Windows 95, like Solitaire and Minesweeper, that were actually meant to teach people how to use the interaction of Windows. So Minesweeper is meant to teach you about right click, and Solitaire is meant to like teach you about drag and drop. So they're also like, social like constructs and architectures as much as they are, like visual interfaces.
I have Nicole just wrote something. Do you want me to read it right now?
Yeah, sure.
She says, "Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the critiques, the collaborative process, and for having the opportunity to meet this group of such amazing artists. I had a trip scheduled for today, and I didn't have access to my computer. I'm sorry I couldn't join the opening with you. When I have access again, I'm excited to visit all the works."
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
nice.
we're missing her.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that she used just the park, just the outside area. She didn't use, and she blocked the entrance of the dome.
I know.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't know why.
She blocked it.
I don't know why.
I think you can get in, but it's just like only if you go like on the, I don't know, I guess on the other side of the big computer, because I was also struggling with that, and then I found a way in, but it's kind of like hidden.
Also, if you fly, you can get in.
Yeah, I just cheat and fly, so.
Yeah, but maybe the idea is not to get in, right? Like to keep everything in the garden, like just as she said.
She's writing. She's writing right now a few words about her work, so maybe I can read in a minute.
Oh, but
Okay.
You're great.
There's some selfies in here.
Yeah, there's a little, someone is storing their some. It's, I think, from Anna's work. It's some selfies from Anna's work.
That's interesting. This is just curious.
Yeah, I took a selfie on my space.
And some.
Also, because some of my friends joined to the critique, so we took a selfie in the space.
Very
Wow.
cute.
Yeah, the selfie camera has always, at first I was like, what are we going to use this for? And then we use it all the time. So
Yeah, we have a process documentation from the installation process that we took yesterday in the sun.
yeah.
And
Well, this is another one I hope to go in my VR goggles. So I'll go in that and hang out and look at all of this. Oh my gosh, someone is taking a lot of selfies over here.
Do you want me to read it?
Oh, it's me. Oops. Sure.
Well, she's saying, my proposal was to create a space guided by the idea of meta language in a direct relation with the metaverse. After conversations about some of my previous works, I designed this space based on a book from the 2000s that teaches how to design a website. I had the scanned pages on my archive and I chose some of them that were most geometrical. I was inspired by the sculptural works that are built to be on city parks and gardens, like Richard Serra and the Brazilian artist Amilcar de Castro.
Oh, yes. Now I remember. It was, Richard Serra. Amazing.
At least we have some words from her.
Yes. Well, so a virtual to Nicole.
I just want to say
Thank
thank
you guys so much.
And and just I'm really sad that at just the critique times were just when some of my PhD classes were at, and I was like, I wish I could escape and be there. But I am very, very happy to get to meet you and to meet your work, and to, I will definitely come back and have a deeper look into what you were proposing over here, because I think it's brilliant, and I would just love to keep in touch with everyone. Like, just, I have these spaces in Antimateria website where I share projects and exhibitions. So I will be sharing this exhibition in a couple of weeks. On Monday, I will tag you all, of course. But if at any point you want anything, or you feel like there's something that could be interesting to be shared also through Antimateria, just send me an email. I'm more than happy to do so. So, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doreen. It was very nice, this experience. It was. Thank you for choosing our works.
Yeah, that's so nice.
You're a brilliant artist, so.
Thank you so much, Doreen. I just to tell you an anecdote. I think we had a moment in one of the first weeks of critique where we were like, oh, right, yeah, like I think we were talking about Rogelio's work and mine, and they're like, oh, yeah, right, like these histories and this kind of like multi-dimensional look at history, and with this last work that we saw as well. So we were like, oh, yeah, it really makes sense that we're together. So.
Always a curator, never.
That's how it works out.
I guess. I guess that means only words in Spanish, but.
What word?
What is it in Spanish?
In Spanish, it's a meme, and it's like siempre curadora, nunca incuradora. So. But it only makes sense.
Está bueno.
Suena mejor en español, suena mejor.
Sí, en español.
I understood that. You were saying if it's better in Spanish.
Yes.
I'm not that bad, guys.
Arriba el español.
Yeah. This is amazing. Oh gosh. So, okay, big claps to all of us. Thank you so much. And I'm going to set about doing some little edits, and then this has been so wonderful. And yeah, hopefully we can meet up later in the month or something and just reach out. So,
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Ciao.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Chang.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you.
Eileen. Thanks, Ariel.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Sean.
Ciao.
Thanks, Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.